Well, I suppose trying to understand what a curator is I'm a curator, obviously, and I work within the museum to organise the exhibitions, would be the simplest way. If you can imagine that this is a museum of modern and contemporary art, that means that the exhibitions are changing every maybe 3 or 6 months. It's not like going to an archaeology museum where every exhibition is always the same. You have the same number of objects. What we do is different. We meet with artists who are alive. We invite them to have an exhibition here at the museum. We work with them and their ideas and our ideas about making an exhibition, and you'll see some of those here at the moment. There's a second kind of exhibition which is more historic. So the artist might be dead. And the curator in that case needs to go out and find where the works are because the owners of the paintings or sculptures mightn't even know they have them in some cases. So it's my job to find a very long list of works, make a selection of work that tells a story that the audience can understand and organise it. A curator within a museum like this is the person who is supposed to know about the art. So very often they will be art historians, they will have studied art history at university, or they might be practicing artists as well. And it's our function to really develop ideas about what the programme of the museum must be. So with our other colleagues, we will talk about maybe the idea of a theme, so that at one time there might be 4 or 5 exhibitions happening which have a central theme. That might be, for example, portraits. It could be as simple as landscape, but we will try and make sure that there is a clear story. For example, in other businesses, you could have a film director, would be the person who has the idea for the film and who directs the other people like the cameramen, or would have the script, for example. In the theatre, you might have a choreographer who is also developing the idea and making sure that it is executed, brought forward. So the role is both the idea and making sure that it happens. So the role includes all kinds of things from arranging the transport, knowing how much things cost, so making the budget, making sure that things are in good condition, they're clean enough to show, so that's conservation. Writing, so for example, preparing essays for the exhibition catalogue, doing interviews for the press, and of course working with the artist as well. Or if the artist is dead, with their estate. The Museum of Modern Art is, modern would maybe be 20th century, so the last century. We usually think after the First World War, which would be 1914 onwards. And then contemporary art, in a very simple way, might be an artist who's still alive, or work that's made in the last 10 to 20 years. And the kind of things that involves are quite different because the modern art before the 60s tends to be simpler in terms of medium. So you will have a lot more painting and sculpture. After the 60s, it becomes more experimental, where you have things like conceptual work, where the idea is sometimes more important than the object. And you have things that become land art, so art that's made in the countryside. You have ephemeral art, so things that might be an artist creating a cloud in the sky. And all of these things happen from the 60s onwards. So you have very distinct shifts happen in modern art, and those are some of the stories that we're trying to tell.